Hey there, paper geeks and glitter nerds, it's Zen and the Crazy Geek Crafter. I'm here with part 2 in my Scotland folio. Yeah, let's jump in there. I'm still missing out on some pattern papers, so I'm making another one just to pass the time and fill in some pages. I know this very light blue color doesn't fit completely with the theme, but I think I got away with it. I think. Because I'm using dark blues with it. I think it ties in with the other pages. There's also some light blues in the other pattern papers, but not that much. So I'm just going to let you enjoy this stenciling of mine. And now we're ready. During the next few minutes you will see some new prints pop in from the side. That's because I got my printer going, finally. And it is printing all of my favorite patterns. I won't be making enough yet, but I can always make more. And you'll see they get more and more crooked as I print them. That is very annoying. I figured out why. I took a stool. My print is quite high, so I couldn't actually see what was going on, why it kept pulling the papers weird. So I'm going to have to struggle with those that it actually printed off center. But overall it's going to work out. Now I'm just planning out where I'll put what paper. And then it's cutting and gluing, mostly. Here's one of those papers that I struggle with a lot because the printer pulled the paper in off kilter or something. I don't know what to call this. And it was it was messing with my head completely. I couldn't figure it out. I wanted the print to be straight, but I measured straight according to the actual paper, not to the print. And it's a mess. I figure out how to deal with it, but that was a challenge. Like here, you see, it's not at all square, and it's just annoying. As yeah. I can fix this. I didn't want this paper to go to waste. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And it fit completely with the theme of this page, which is the road trip we took, where we actually got to see one of the little cows. The Highland cow. It was called Hamish. That's all I remember about it. I know the driver, he was actually very entertaining. He made a long story of it while we drove to see this pen with the cow, talking about how his friend Hamish was very Scottish and redhead and didn't really like outsiders and things, and then it was a cow when we got there. It was very funny. If you were there, that is. So this pattern paper fit complete. We didn't get to see Loch Ness, unfortunately. That would have been a much longer trip, and we only had 1 day for it. So, but we did get to see some smaller lochs, I think. Or was it just rivers we saw? Let's see. Like I said in the previous video, it's been years. I still remember the trip fondly. It was an adventure. if you have done like me, and not like I said I should have done, you might have this problem too, where the pattern paper needs to go inside the pocket, because otherwise everything you put in the pocket will catch on the pattern paper coming in and out. This way, if you make it a bit too long and then stick that part into the pocket, you will have a much easier time getting things in and out. That's a tip for you. Now I'm trying to straighten up my waterfall here, because it got a bit crooked. I made another mistake when I glued it down. I was more focused on the part that I was gluing than how the pages was going to fall on each other. And since no fold is ever truly straight, you will tend to have some more crooked parts. So here was the flyer from the hostel we were staying in, and I'm trying to figure out how to deal with it. And I end up scoring it here. Oh, sorry. I end up scoring it so I can fold it a bit, and then in a moment when I have made it, you haven't seen that yet, but I'm going to make some photo corners, or whatever to call them, on my ScanNCut, because I need so many. It was easier than getting a die or a punch for it. So they're coming. You should not be afraid to cut your photos, by the way. For instance, there's no reason for me to have all of this street on one of the pictures, so I'm just cutting it down. The other one I just trimmed off. There was a sign. I think it was a bus stop or something on the side. I didn't need it for the pictures. So don't be afraid to cut into them. You will most likely have a digital copy somewhere, so you won't lose it as such. I had troubles with this map from the National Museum of Scotland. quite the experience, I have to say, and I didn't even pay to see any of the special exhibits. But this thing was thick and a bit too long. So I know now that whenever I make a folio, I should never make it less than 21 centimeters high, because that will fit the standard flyer or brochure of a anywhere in the EU. And here I'm just figuring out which side I need to cut off to make it fold the way I want it. It's this one, to make this spiral fold the way I want. Where was I? Oh, it's the folders. It's not this map that I just cut a tiny bit off on each end. It's not the only one I have to cut to make it fit in my folio, actually. So keep that in mind. Make sure when you make your folio that it'll be tall or wide enough to handle the things you want inside. Because I had some troubles here. And this is where I have some camera trouble or space trouble. I need to work on these 2 pages, but they don't really fit in the camera. Here they do. And I don't always remember to do this, slide it this way, so that the camera can actually see what I'm doing, because I am very committed to making this thing. It's a bit sad. But sometimes I completely forget about the camera when I'm making new things like this, where you have to really use logic and math to get it all to work. Now I need this map to be accessible, but I also need it to stay in the folio when I close it. That's why I put on the top bracket, because otherwise when you close it and lift up the folio, the map will fall out the bottom, because that page will be folded down. I also need something so it won't fall out the side. That's the other flap for. And here I'm cutting out a piece of a map. I took quite a few of these from the hostel with maps of the city, because I figured they would be useful, and I was right. They were very useful. I actually loved having them as a background choice together with all the pattern papers, because mostly when I use it, I am actually able to cut out the part where the places that the flap or the pocket is connected to. So I find it very nice. That was a very practical choice. I just didn't know it at the time. So the National Museum is going to take up 2 pages. I don't mind. I did have an extra or spare page if you want, prefer that word. So that's not going to be a problem. And I will wait until tomorrow to figure out how I'll keep these closed. Most people use magnets to hold their flaps and waterfalls and whatever, hold them closed, but I didn't have any, so I had to improvise. I did see a few versions in different YouTube videos, other ways you can close up your folios, and I'm going to try out a few. This is the end of this week's folio videos. I hope you'll be back next week for 2 more. Until then, I hope you'll be having a good day, evening or night.